right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast, and this is episode 266, and this is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, which is youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. And if you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at JakeSaw01. And as always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share this show with your friends. Leave comments, rate our podcast as you see fit. And as a reminder, we are a video podcast, so if you don't want to stream it on your preferred podcasting platform, you can go just watch us. You can watch this show on YouTube. New and or long-time listeners, bing, 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 ears up. We have a Patreon where you can support this show for $1 a month. The Patreon tier is called the one and only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PS This Is Awesome, and you can become a $1 patron like some other folks, and we will mail you a free die-cut vinyl sticker in the mail and give you a shout-out on the show. And that helps us a lot. We haven't had any new patrons in a while. We know you're out there. We know you listen. It's $1 a month, please. If you like the show and want to support us, that is the only way to do it. We don't have merch. We don't have advertising. That's the only way. It's the only way we make any kind of profit. And it's not even profit. We dump it right back into the show. So we're slowly accumulating. Like maybe we'll have $100 in 2 years. We'll see. Probably not, but maybe we will. We should if the math is right. So since starting, maybe Jake can buy a game on you guys. All right. Anyways, with that out of the way, Jake, how are you today?
I'm trying my best to stay conscious. Oh. I was in Chicago all week for work, and I was working just insane hours. So I got home Thursday night, and Friday I could barely get to work. I don't think I got to work until like lunchtime. And then today I couldn't even get out of bed until almost 10 o'clock. I don't know what the fuck. I just was so tired. And so, but other than that, I mean, everything's fine. I'm doing fine. Did quite a bit of gaming when I wasn't working. I mean, I used to, like, when I would go on work trips, I would like to try and go around and find like local, places to eat food and stuff like that, just as something to do while I was on work trips. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, leave me the fuck alone. I get back to my hotel room. And then I just like play video games and fall asleep. It's like, I just chill out. I don't go out and do anything anymore while I'm working. And, so I was able to play some video games while I was on my trip.
Good.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. That is good. I'm happy. We did the Last of Us podcast. We won't talk about it at the end of the show, but we do have a Last of Us podcast right now that we're doing every Monday night. And we're coming right up to the end of the series. So we have, I think, 2 more episodes. And Jake, you did the last episode from your Windy City apartment. Or whatever you want to call it. That'd be awesome if you just had an apartment in Chicago. Balling. No,
that would be dope.
Yeah, whatever it was, your hotel room. And unfortunately, I don't think the audio synced quite with your mouth in the video because it was pretty latent, the connection. But not a big deal. We've been doing that, and we'll be back to that this upcoming Monday. So I've been doing all right here. I just finished. My voice sounds a little rough. I literally just got done singing into the mic for like 3 hours. I just got done recording the second to last song for the One Up by Land record. We have been working with Mr. Michael Fritz on album artwork. He's a fantastic artist and friend of ours, so that's coming along. I have one more song to track vocals for, and I think I need to make one correction to one part on one of the songs. I've been listening to it and kind of critical of something I did, and I don't know if I like it, so that'll just take maybe like 20 minutes. But that album's coming along. I don't think much else is going on in my world Nothing fantastic. Although, because we have now informed the listeners of what kind of car I drive, I have a 09 Yaris hatchback. I will say this. I was on my way to work. I don't have I'm not afforded the luxury of working from home. So I was driving to work, and the city we're in has a lot of, they pretty much got rid of all of their stoplights, pretty much. And it's all 4-way stop signs. And I roll up, I stop. Another Yaris that looks the exact same year, exact same model, exact same aftermarket black hubcaps rolls up, and the dude had a beard, and he was just sitting there. And we kind of looked at each other for like, it was early, man. It was like, I don't know, 6:45 a.m. And he kind of looks over at me, and as he's going, he goes like this. Like to me, because he knew that I knew we both looked the same and had the same car. I feel like I crossed into an alternate reality. It was so weird. And this is the first time I've told anybody about that story. That was this past Friday. It was really weird. I don't know.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, the chances of that happening, like the rest of the city was still asleep, I felt like, and just these two Yaris's meet at the corner. I've never seen them before my early morning commute. You know, we have our morning commutes, and we get into just the autopilot, and we have our turns, and we take our route, and then, you know, maybe some people like to switch it up. I don't, but I've never come across this guy, and he was very cognizant of what was going on. Because we just both kind of looked at each other, and he gave me one of these rock and roll signs. So funny. Nice. Yeah, dude. So outside of that, I've been catching up on my G.I. Joe comics. IDW, the license for G.I. Joe for the comic books got passed out. I forget who has it. IDW did it for a very long time. Larry Hama is the original Marvel author for the G.I. Joe comics back in the 80s and 90s. And when Marvel dropped G.I. Joe, it disappeared for a long time. And Devil's Due Comics took over for a little bit. And then Hama just quit writing for G.I. Joe. And when IDW acquired the license relatively recently, several years ago, actually, quite a few years ago. Yeah, I'll just rephrase. A while back, IDW got the license to make G.I. Joe comics again. And Larry Hama picked right up. So instead of going IDW issue number 1, it was like IDW issue number 158. And it was just the next one in the continuity of what he had started with Marvel, the story-wise, which was awesome. And everyone like lost their shit. And they're like, oh my God, Hama's back. Larry's back. And he's writing G.I. Joe. And these comics are fantastic. And they were. So I talk about Books Galore often. Although I think I'm going to cancel my subscription. We'll get to that in a second with them. And then we'll get to PlayStation. But what happened was now that the license has been bought out from IDW, you know, it's up to the comic book company to decide who they want to write G.I. Joe. So Larry was able to make it to issue 300. So he has written 300 consecutive G.I. Joe comics, and the story arc is amazing. Story arc is amazing, and there's so much good stuff there. And he's a very prideful person of what he's created with G.I. Joe. He always is kind, if you're kind to him, to the fans who write in, and just such a nice thing. So I had been getting these comics from Books Galore in Erie, Pennsylvania for quite a while, and I just kind of got too busy and I quit reading them, right? You just quit reading these comics or whatever. They kind of just sat, and then I went into my closet and I was like, I gotta finish this run. And what made me want to finish it was the last comic book, 300, that Larry was writing is, and who knows what he's going to do after this. He might get contracted out to do more G.I. Joe stuff with the next place. But the interesting thing is like, it's like literally a 2-page spread, front cover, back cover of like just about every freaking G.I. Joe character ever. And it's like some of them are so tiny in the background, but just enough detail that you know which ones they are. It's one of the coolest things. Like, what's going on here? Because I kind of fell off that wagon, and then I was like, oh, shit, this is the last one, man. This is the last one. He successfully killed Snake Eyes in the comic book, which is awesome. So he did a lot of good stuff here before he wrapped things up. He did some really nice things. And one of the most touching, and I know you guys don't care about this, but I'm excited about this. I'm going to talk about it. One of the most touching comics that he did was a completely silent comic. He had the silent interlude back with Marvel, but he did a silent comic, and it was essentially the military procession for Snake Eyes. And it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And it was like, they had Timber, his dog, was the last one to leave the gravesite. And it was just like, oh, dude, broke your heart. Even though it's like all fucking G.I. Joe shit, it was still really good. But yeah, books galore, man. I've got a bone to pick with them because I live in Meadville, which is like an hour from Erie. So for me to go up there and get the books that they have for me, Jake, I have to make a trip there for something else. Like, I'm not going to go up there and spend all that gas to pick up comic books like every month. Like, I maybe get 2 a month. So I let them sit. I let them build. Not crazy, but it's not like I'm collecting like 17 different titles. It's just G.I. Joe. And they do this thing where they send you a yellow postcard if you haven't come and picked up your file, despite the size. And part of being a member, a paid membership, is that they keep a cubby for you. You're giving them extra money every year so that they can do this for you. And part of the agreement is that they just hang on to these things. And then when you come up to buy them, and I get that it's on their dime, like they've bought these comics for you, so they want to make sure they get paid for them. I've never not gotten my comics, ever. I've never left them high and dry for like 7 years. So the yellow postcard card shows up. I give them a call. This is normally how it goes. I say, hey, this is Fred. I got the postcard. I'm making a shopping trip in like 2 weeks. I'll be by. Put a note in my file. I'll be down to get them. Don't throw them out, whatever, Okay, cool, no problem. Never an issue. Lately, my postcards have had in writing, it says, the postcard is printed. It says, oops, it looks like you forgot to come pick up your comics. Please give us a call to make sure that we know that you still want us to be ordering these titles and that you're good for them. So mine, the last 4 or 5 times, it has said, oops, it looks like you forgot to pick up your comics. And somebody writes next to it, again, ? And it's like, no, fuck you. Like, fuck you. I'm paying for this. I'm paying for this service. If it's such a big deal, then I'll cancel it and I won't give you any business. I'll just get digital comics. Because part of me was like, I was doing this to help a mom and pop comic shop. And it's just like, I have been a client of theirs for years. This has never been a thing, but some dude or person over there has the tenacity. Little things like that just drive me crazy. Again? And then, yeah, because I live all the way down here. And every time I show up, they're like, well, we could just ship them to you. I'm like, is the shipping free? No, it's going to be like $25. No, not going to do it for $25. Nope, I'll just come get them on my time. I'm paying for the cubbyhole. That end of rant. It's so frustrating. But I don't know. So I think I'm canceling my membership. I don't know. It is what it is.
You should just not read comics.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, and you need to grow up a little bit.
First of all, it's BS that it's $25 to ship comics.
I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating. Comics get heavy when you have and then they got to bag and board them and make sure they don't get crinkled. They probably ship them in a way that they don't get messed up in the mail, right? That's part of it. So, but yeah, dude, I don't know.
You should just, there should be a way for you to put in your file, like, I'm paying for this service. I'm only going to pick them up like once every 3 months.
Well, the thing is too, is like the only way to get a cubby is if you're paying for the service. So it's already a known. Like they already know.
I just mean that, yeah. I just mean that they should be able to put in your file that you don't need to be hounded every month. Right. You are purposefully not coming to get them.
Right.
Or maybe the solution would be if you could just call and just pay for them over the phone and have them just hold them until the next time you get there.
Yeah, maybe that's a decent solution. Yeah, maybe if they're worried about money. Then, yeah.
Because if I can understand a little store like that, especially something like comic books, them kind of running on some pretty thin margins.
Yeah.
And really wanting to make sure they get paid. And maybe the person that wrote that note was just having a bad day.
But they've been doing it like the last several times. It has had
really?
again. So maybe somebody was just having like a really like, I don't know, low busy day, like not a very active day, and they're just like, I'm gonna fucking write again next to all these. We'll have a pile for people who do it all the time and a pile for people who don't do it often, and we'll just fucking, I'm sure. But every time I show up, they're like, hey Fred, and I'm like, hey, and I did mention it to him the last time I picked him up. I said, listen, I know you guys put it, this is a thing that I do. I said, I'm down in Meadville. I don't get up here often, especially in the wintertime. I'm not driving through a fucking blizzard to come buy, $20 worth of comics, and then just head home. Like, gas money, driving in the snow sucks. And then if I have no reason to be in Erie, like for instance, we just got booked a gig there, One Up by Land, March 14th, I think is whatever Friday it is. And I'll be in town that day. We don't got to load until 7:30. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pop on Buy Books Galore and say, hey, you got any comics here for me? And then maybe they will, maybe they won't, because G.I. Joe ended at 300. So unless they did something I don't know of, I probably don't have any comics there. Long story short, dude, we need to talk about PlayStation. Can we talk about PlayStation? Listeners, if you have an opinion on that.
About comics.
What's that?
You're the one talking about comics.
I know. I'm trying to reroute myself. Listeners, if you have any comments about that, I mean, don't get me wrong. Books Galore is awesome. They are awesome. They have awesome shite there, and they are very good to their customers. But again, just gets right under my skin, and I'm usually not that easily agitated, but shit like that just kind of bothers me. All right, games we're playing. Jake, let's talk about games that we're playing. And I'm playing mainly just VR games right now. I spent another good 2 hours in Moss Book 2. This game is just a gem. It's so good. I'm halfway through Moss Book 2, and because they have like these stained glass windows that as you pick up like hidden scrolls, there's like a mini game where you try to find the secret scrolls. You got to lean around stuff and look for them, get your character there. It'll patch in a piece of the stained glass. And there are 4 stained glass windows. No, there are 6, I think. I have done 3, and there's 3 remaining. So that's my gauge. I think I'm halfway through Moss Book 2. This game is amazing. Highly recommend it if you have VR. Play the first one. It is my only issue with Moss Book 2 is this, or Moss in general. It's a puzzle platformer. And the puzzles have you using the environment to kind of solve. So with your hand, you grab shit and you move like platforms, and then you have, what is the mouse's name? I don't remember the mouse's name. You have your character jump onto the platform, and then you move the platform with your hand, and then the mouse can jump, and then there's other things that you can do too. So far I've unlocked a couple interesting things where I can make dead roots turn into leaves that I can climb. So I just take my hand and I click the one button and I brush the dead roots, and these leaves pop up, and they only last for so long, but then you can run your mouse over and climb them, and you unlock these special abilities as you're called the reader, right? Because Moss is based on a set of books, and it's getting narrated to you. And all of the voices, I think, are the same voice actor, but they lean into the fact that you're being told a story by a person. The mouse's name, I want to say his name's like Pivot or something like that. I don't remember her name. But anyways, her voice is different, but I feel like a lot of the voices are just one person, which I like. But where I was going with this was that game, while it is difficult at times, the puzzles can be a little confusing sometimes, but they're not so hard that you can't figure them out. They make you feel smart. But it's not, it's visually a spectacle in a very awesome way. And it controls really well. It's a very basic game, though. It's a super basic game. There's not, and they're not doing anything that you wouldn't find in like a regular platformer, with the exception that there are VR interactions, which is awesome. And but it is one of the best looking VR games I've played, and it's so polished. Moss 1 and 2. And the only other thing that I have to say about Moss is it feels like a children's book. So it's like a fairy tale book. So if you're into that, great. But if that's not really up your alley, you might not fully appreciate the story or what's going on. But the gameplay and the way the game plays is enough to carry the game. But I enjoy Moss Book 2. Been playing Gran Turismo 7 in VR. VR 2, oh my God. It's so good. So amazing. Jake, I saw that you were decorating a car yesterday. Sarah showed me a picture.
Did Sarah show you that picture?
Yeah. I won't go into detail what it was. I'll let you do that. But it's so funny.
I just was dicking around, no pun intended, with that that editor because I didn't even know you could decorate the patience for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know you.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for that kind of stuff where you can fully customize, the graphics with all these decals and make everything look awesome and sponsors and all this shit and place where all like I'm sure people spend hours fucking with that stuff, but like,
dude, I spent a lot of time making the PSTIA suit and helmet. I spent a lot of time. It took a while to do that. I wish I could just send them to you. I'm sure it did. Can you just pull those off the network? Can I make those available?
You might be able to. You might be able to share them. I don't really know.
Dude, we need to have a racing team. That'd be so rad. I'm wearing the same fucking gear. That'd be so cool.
It would be kind of neat.
Yeah, Gran Turismo 7 is great. I don't know where you are. I just got my Class A license. But I really like this game in that it doesn't feel overwhelming. They pepper you through the cafe. The cafe is what the game has always needed. Now, maybe it's had it in iterations before. I haven't played Gran Turismo for such a long time, but dude, I don't know about you, but I like that you have a checklist of things you're trying to accomplish. And on top of it, you can just do whatever you want to do, race the races, buy different cars, do the things, take the photos, you know what I mean? Do the online. But I like that it gives you, it's like, here, if you want to learn this game and you want to get good at this game and you want to learn a little bit about history of cars and you want to have some things on your checklist, instead of just racing and just seeing how fast you can complete a track or what your best lap time is or like what place you can get, or how well you can spec out a car. Here, go this way. Here, we're going to go this way, player. You do the shit at the cafe. And that's all I've been doing. It's been really fun. It's been enjoyable. Jake?
So I've been playing quite a bit of Gran Turismo 7 too, just because it's so fucking good in VR. I can't even. It's the most fun I've had playing VR probably ever. I'm not even fucking around.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I'm glad you found a game finally.
And I will say that the cafe reads to me a little bit like a video game sized tutorial, but in a way that doesn't make you like irritated that you're playing a tutorial because it has all this history and stuff.
I love it.
I will admit that like I do get a little bit impatient sometimes with having to like go back and forth to the fucking cafe and like listen to this guy fucking talk nonstop and all this stuff. I like the sequences where he's telling you about the cars and everything when you complete the challenges, but like all this shit, like when you're first getting your challenge or whatever, and he's just like, I want you to do this. You should do this. Go over here and do this.
Go talk to Bob at the cars garage. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I understand that a lot of that. Yeah. A lot of that is just him explaining to you the world and how to use all the different features of the game and stuff like that, which is fine. I don't have my Class A license yet. I have not been asked to do it, so I got my class. Basically, there was a request for him to do the first challenge of the Class B license, and when he did that, I was just like, fuck it, I did all of it and went all the way to the end of the Class B.
Yeah.
And then now I'm just kind of doing everything in order, and then if he asks me to do the Class A or whatever, then I'll do that.
Did you do the Mustang races yet? The Mustang cars?
So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, those are.
I'm on the menu with the American cars. I just did the Laguna Seca race, which is that track is a like it's probably, in terms of like non-NASCAR tracks, it's probably the most famous road racing track in America, North America.
I wish and just a little commentary on Gran Turismo 7, being a non-racing guy, right? I'm not really a fan of, I can't sit down and watch racing, so I didn't even know about it. I've heard Laguna Seca, but I didn't know that was like the one. Like, I wish, like, for as much detail as they give to the cars, it'd be really cool if they gave you a quick breakdown of all the tracks and they told you a little bit of history. You know, that would be cool.
It would be really neat to have some of that. It was cool, like, because I've raced, not like in real life, but in like Ride 4 and in the MotoGP games, I've raced at Laguna Seca just because it's just a famous track. And so it's cool to see, like, that was the only track in the entire game that I've played so far that I knew what was coming when I was racing the track. and it was accurate. Like, none of it was, you know, sometimes it's like weird from game to game on stuff. Like, they kind of put their own little spin on it.
Yeah.
But like, it seems like these simulation games do everything they can to try to make the tracks as like real as possible, which is awesome. Yeah. So just a couple of things, then we can move on from GT7 because it's, I mean, I could talk about it all night.
Yeah, we both could.
So the first thing is that my least favorite thing that I've done so far is the races in Japan where you're like racing in the street. Like, they're
kind of tight.
They're tight, and they're not easy to navigate. I mean, there's no, like, because your vision is blocked almost everywhere you go because you're going through tunnels and all this stuff. And I guess, you know, that makes it more challenging and people might kind of like that or whatever. But I prefer the more dedicated circuits that are clearly racetracks designed for racing.
Interesting.
Just in terms of like my interest in the game. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those road courses, but you know what I mean.
I dig the road courses. Yeah. Let me interject real quick. Have you done any night driving? Any night racing?
Yeah.
When cars get behind you?
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. The fact that, like, in VR you can actually use your mirrors and stuff is fucking clutch. It is so awesome. Like, I remember this one race I was doing last night. It was one of those road courses in Tokyo or Japan or whatever, and I didn't have a very well-spec'd car, so I was struggling to kind of keep up with the leaders. And so when I would pass somebody, I could use my mirrors to, like, keep my car in front of the person behind me.
Box them out,
to try and keep them from passing me, which is not something that's easy to do when you don't have that ability with that VR kind of where you can look like you normally would in a car. And it's so natural too. The way that the headset feels, it's so natural to just look at the mirrors and see what's going on around you. It's cool.
What about the lighting?
I will say,
when cars get behind you at night, the headlights.
It's cool. I mean, it works pretty good. And like I did one race in the rain, and like your wipers come on, and that's
when
pretty
the
cool.
interior at night in your car starts glowing because there's a car right on your ass with bright like lights on. It's fucking wild. It's just like, what the fuck? This looks like there's literally a car right behind me. And you're right. The rain has been my most enjoyable environmental thing. There was one track with the Class B license, and I'm sure you raced it. Like the second lap, the rain would hit. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
And it makes it tough. It makes it tough because
and you're flying around that corner.
Stuff.
Yeah, dude.
And you just end up fucking running wide and shit
the sound,
because you're skidding.
The rain just hitting the windshield, and you're like going fucking 120, and you're just like, oh fuck, this is nuts. Yeah, dude, I love it. It's so fun.
yeah, it's
You were gonna keep saying
really,
sorry. I cut you off in my excitement. Go.
No, it's cool. So the last thing that I was just gonna comment on before we sort of moved on was that I did one multiplayer race.
Yeah.
Just to see what it was all about.
Yeah.
And I got fucking demolished. But like, I don't know that I'll do any multiplayer unless it's like you and I specifically.
Was it your car
match? It's annoying because all of these races, they have specific car specifications. You have to have a certain performance points level, and then on top of that, your car has to be a specific type of car, whether it's front engine, rear drive, and all this shit. And then on top of that, your car has to have a specific type of tires.
Yeah.
So you've got a million and one
pay
fucking
all this
lobbies
shit to get
online.
a car. Yeah.
And it's like, I found a lobby that had people in it, and I'm like, okay. So I didn't want to do one that was like a super high spec race. I wanted it to be like a lower spec race, so I wasn't like getting in over my head in terms of speed and stuff. So I jump in, and I've got like 30 cars.
Yeah, I've got a lot too.
But it's like, this car doesn't match. This car doesn't. None of the cars fucking match the specification of the race, other than the one that I made the special graphic on the side of.
You raced that online?
so that was the only one I had that would compete in that race. And so I raced that one.
Your account's gonna get banned.
Got fucking demolished.
I like the idea of someone passing you in VR and just looking over and seeing this big wiener on the side of your freaking car. That's so funny to me. Like someone just looking and just like your guys in there like this.
To be clear to the audience, so now that the cat's out of the bag, I made a car with a giant wiener decal on the side of it.
A phallic shape.
And I did it because I was experimenting with this this like place in the game where you can like do custom decals and all this stuff. And my wife was actually doing a game night with Fred and some other people, and I was at home because I just wasn't feeling well from the week of work, and I was playing, and when she texted me, I was like, as a joke, I made this car specifically to take a picture and send it to her. Yeah. And then after that, I did this race, and it was the only car that I had available. So I did this race with a fucking Miata with a dong on the side of it. And I'm sure the people in the race were just like, who is this fucking 12-year-old probably doing this race? And but I got destroyed. But like I said, I mean, I imagine that if you get really into it, like the online stuff becomes a lot easier because you're in specific classes and things like that, and you're speccing your vehicles to accommodate for that. But like for me, who's someone's just like, you know, flailing around in this universe, it was kind of a challenge. But I like the idea of like, you know, setting up a race just for like us to do, and then, or even like if listeners want to jump on,
played by
have
Ken,
it be
jump
just
in.
like be like a fucking, I don't know, race like slow cars or something.
One black
you know what I
Talon.
mean? Like hatchbacks or something. Like, because honestly, in my opinion, it's cool getting that sense of speed when you're racing those really fast cars. Yeah. But I think like the little hatchbacks and stuff are just so fun to drive.
They're just as challenging though too, to stay with the pack. If people are hitting their corners right and accelerating right and shifting right, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta kind of have a good idea about how to take the turns. Now, I am using the brake zones. I think last time I said I wasn't, but I'm getting those. Well, so when you're manually shifting, it displays what gear they recommend you be in for the turns. Do you get that or no? Like, I don't know what. How come I get that?
Basically. So it's because you're doing manual transmission. I'm using an automatic transmission. Okay. So I use the braking zones, and honestly, the reason why I do it is because the way that they set up we'll call it the single player, which is like the whole cafe thing and everything. You don't get an opportunity to really learn any of these tracks.
No,
it's like, you do 2 laps on this track and then you don't fucking go back to it again for like ever.
Yeah.
unless you want to sit there and run that track over and over again. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to be racing like different tracks every fucking time I'm racing, it's hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
At least tell me when to start braking, because I've never seen this corner before.
Yeah.
And so I put that on, but I did notice there was a couple of times when I was playing last night where the game just didn't fucking put braking markers on there for me.
Interesting.
Like randomly.
Yeah.
And I just slammed into the wall at full speed because I was expecting it to be there. But I do use them, but I've been running I'm doing fully manual braking and acceleration and all that.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
I'm just not doing the manual shifting.
You should try it, dude. It's real fun when you get it.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's really fun.
Like when you're going uphill, like little mini hills on some of those tracks, it is awesome to like shift down just to get a little extra boost and like whip around people. Like you go real fast up the hill, you know? It's fucking rad, dude.
The one thing that I'm sure that they don't, I'd be curious to see what your setup is in terms of like your accessibility settings. I don't know what they call.
I'll screen grab it and put it up or whatever somewhere.
Because if you put it in like fucking fully hardcore mode, now I think that the races that we're doing, at least early on, are not long enough for this to matter.
Yeah.
But like eventually you have to worry about like your tires wearing out and like all this stuff. I don't know if you notice there's tire gauges and stuff on the screen while you're driving, and they will decrease as you go. But like all the races are like 2-lap races. So it's not like you're really, I literally, the first thing I do when I get a new car is I go to the tuning shop, buy the softest fucking tires you can buy, and then buy the weight reduction. And if I need a little bit extra juice, I put a turbocharger in it. And then it's like spec'd to within whatever I need. I haven't bought any cars at all.
Yeah.
Other than the first car they make you buy.
I bought a gold
because,
thing.
like,
I don't know what it was. It was awesome.
Because I don't know. It's a little bit overwhelming. So I got to kind of stick with like, I got to like stay in my lane a little bit with what I'm doing. Because if I try to that's why I don't do any of the decal stuff. That's why because that's just like, if I get overwhelmed by this stuff, I'm not going to want to play it. I just got to kind of stick to the drive.
All right. Well, last Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo 7 question for you. As you complete the things with the cafe, they give you those little bonus awards. You go back to your garage and you can use them, and it's like Wheel of Fortune. Like it goes and it spins, and then it always lands. There's sometimes you get a car, sometimes you can get like upgrade shit, like, you know, parts for your car. Sometimes you just get like a lot of cash, a lot of credits, and then I have never gotten anything but the smallest possible amount of money on that spinner thing. And I've done it so many times now. Have you gotten anything but like the bare minimum, like the worst option?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not know that's what those fucking tickets were for.
Yeah, dude.
I've never done
Go to the garage.
I was wondering last night, actually. I was like, I got one of these tickets. I was like, what? I don't know what the fuck this is.
It'll give you a lot of credits, dude. I think like at least 5,000 usually. Like the lowest is 5,000. But sometimes you can get lucky and the light will land on a car and you get a new car. Sometimes you'll get like,
that's cool.
They'll have like a big pile of money, and they'll have a smaller pile of money, and then like a really small pile of money, and then like maybe.
Dude, how bad do you fuck up other cars when you're driving?
Not too bad, man.
Do you try to be as clean as possible?
Oh yeah, because you get credits for that.
I do too, but like sometimes I do accidentally fuck people up.
Oh, it happens on accident for sure.
But I really try to like stay out of the dirt. And the other thing too that I've noticed is that at least the way that my game is set up, or maybe it's just because I'm still early in the game, it doesn't give you any like track limits penalties or anything like that.
No.
Which is a thing in like whenever you have like everything unlocked full hardcore.
Maybe,
mode.
That's probably most hardcore. I get really irritated when the computer player fucks me up. Like I'll pass on a corner or something, and I'll be just in front of them, and they'll just do the old police maneuver where they just hit the back corner of my car
on your back tire,
and they spin me out, and I get so mad because I'll be like on my way to like the top 3. And I think they do it on purpose, or maybe I'm just slowing down and they can't brake and they tag my car. But like, dude, nothing's more infuriating than getting spun out by the AI. Like, it's so annoying. So I don't know. I think maybe it adopts, like, if you drive more aggressively than they do. I don't know. But anyways, let's move on to the next thing. The other game I'm playing, Mass Effect 3. I'm enjoying it now. I'm in the pocket with this game. I'm enjoying it. One thing that is driving me crazy, and then we'll talk about one more game I'm playing or have tried, and then Jake will see if you've been playing anything else. The thing about Mass Effect 3 that kills me is when you're in orbit, you can't view your mission list. Why? Why can't I go?
You have to back out to the freaking
Normandy.
Dude, I'll be honest with you, like, kind of in a similar vein with like shit that bugs me about that.
Mm-hmm.
That game is how a lot of missions kick you to when you complete them, they kick you to the communications room and you have to walk all the fucking way back to
and then you got to stop in front of that glowy thing.
Yeah, because like it had to load on the PS3,
right.
So they like make you do that.
But it makes it look like
really
they're scanning you for something, and it's like, okay, yeah. Why don't they kick you right back to the Mission Central area? Like, yeah, that's so stupid.
Which is weird because they did that. I think they did that in the other games.
Yeah, and another thing that really,
at least on a lot of the, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, the other thing that really bothers me about that game is the in order to I don't know what the word is, to vault over things, you have to crouch first next to it. That's so fucking archaic and terrible.
You have to like double tap X. Yeah, it's
like you get up behind it and then you jump over. Like, you can't just jump over things. It's so annoying.
Yeah, we don't need to go,
if
we're gonna do a podcast, we don't need to go too deep into
it's driving me crazy.
But yeah, the cover based shooting in that game is pretty bad.
It's stupid.
In all of them, all of the Mass Effect games.
And then I was talking to you about this, Jake. I'll just mention it for the listeners real quick. I did jump into RE Village VR, and it was late. I was tired, and the tutorial is insane. You don't get this tutorial in the game unless you're playing it in VR. And it's, from what I understand, it operates a lot like how Half-Life Alyx integrates VR, in that your hands are independent now. In Resident Evil Village, they're not. Like, you're just playing like this and your guy's just doing the things. You reload, he just fucking reloads. In this, it's very, very VR reworked in that there's a lot of dark areas, and to use your flashlight, you have to take your hand. The people who are watching YouTube will see what I'm saying. Take your hand and you reach over and you pull open your jacket and you look down and you reach in, and then you got to click to grab, and then you have a flashlight in your hand. And then you got to click like the triangle or whatever button it is, and then you have to fucking point it wherever you want the flashlight to be. So this hand then is, you got to like arm a weapon, I guess, if you're scared you're going to get attacked. So you have a knife here, and you can pull a knife out here. You got to keep it clasped. If you let go of the button, you drop the weapon. And then you got to like find it again. It comes right back. You don't lose it, but you got to like find it again. You're like, the sniper weapon's here. I think the shotgun's back here. I don't know where the medicine is. And I know inside this, you have landmines. So it's like you have all the shit, and then on your leg, you have an ammo pouch. So it's all the ammo for all your guns, but every gun loads differently. So if you have a shotgun, it's already a resource management game to a degree, not as much as like maybe older Resident Evil games, but you want to have ammo. You pull the shotgun out, wherever it is, boom, you got it. And then you're like, oh shit, I don't have any shells in here. So then you got to go like this with the VR controller. You got to grab the shells, and you got to grab a shell. You got to fucking grab a shell. In the meantime, if guys are coming at you, like in the regular game, you just hit reload, and your guys like, and you're good, and you can go. In this fucking game, you got to fucking act that shit out while people are coming at you. It's so scary. The handgun, it's just a bottom loader, but you do have to rack it from the top to like get it ready, and that's kind of interesting. And then the sniper weapon, it's bolt action. So instead of turning it this way, because the bolt's on the opposite side if you're right-handed, you got to turn it this way. And so you load it this way, and then you got to turn it this way, and you got to grab the bolt, and you got to fucking do the thing, and then the shell comes out or whatever, and then you got to shoot, boom, and then you got to, and you got to fucking shoot. Dude, it's the the motions for Village, it's really fucking rad. But I have switched it to easy difficulty because I'm not about to get fucking trounced because I'm trying to figure out how to load my gun. So I could actually see somebody being like, oh, and like just letting go of the thing and then dropping their weapons and getting killed. So that's like the next level of immersion. It's awesome. But I was kind of freaked out. I got as far as, I know you don't even play the game. There's a part where you are introduced to the village, right? The village shows up and you get down in the snowy area and some shit goes down. You remember the trailer for this? It had like that old guy in the shack or whatever, and he's like, and the graphics are really good. That part shows up, and then it's like your first experience with fighting a bad thing, right? And there's a jump scare, and dude, it's way like scarier than Resident Evil 7 was that I can remember. Like this game, like it just feels a little more creepy than 7, which is hard to believe because 7 was terrifying. This game, for whatever reason, it might be that now that I'm my brain is more like this is me instead of just holding like the DualSense, like you know what I mean? Like it's fucking me up a little bit. But I'm gonna jump in, dude. I'm going in. I'm not going in yet, though. I got to beat Moss Book 2, and I want to buy Pavlov. Jake, are you playing anything else?
So let's see. We talked about GT7.
Yeah.
I'm still playing. I've still been playing Hogwarts Legacy. Still awesome. Still really enjoying it. Don't really need to go into it because I'm going to be playing that game for a while probably. But when listeners of the show will know that like when I go on work trips, I take my Xbox Series S with me, so because I don't want to risk damaging my PS5. So I always take my Series S because it's small, it's easier to pack. I don't really care so much if it gets destroyed, yada yada. So I played 2 different games while I was on my trip this week. One of them was, many people may have heard of the game Hi-Fi Rush, which was it was like a shadow drop for Xbox. That is a game developed by Tango Gameworks, who is the company that made the Evil Within series. So it's pretty interesting that they went from making these survival horror games, the Evil Within and the Evil Within 2, to making this like third-person anime action game that's like a rhythm game. Dude, it's so fucking good. I wish that it was on PlayStation because I think that you would really like it. It's like, I say it's a rhythm game, but your attacks are locked into the rhythm. You cannot miss the beat, as it were, like you can with a game like what was that game that was like Doom?
Hell, you know what I'm talking about? Geez, there's so many games, man. I know. We played the demo, and it was
like bullets per minute and stuff like
that.
What
was it? Hell Scraper, Hellbringer, Hellbringer. Not Hell Diver. Hell Screamer.
Doom rhythm game. Metal Hellsinger.
Jesus.
Yeah. So that game is awesome, but you like really have to hit on the beat to make the game kind of worthwhile. This game is like, when you attack, it always makes your attacks happen on the beat, even if you hit early or hit late. But if you hit the button on the beat, it gives you bonuses. And so the game is still playable even if you're not good at the rhythm part. And it's just like I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. This isn't an Xbox podcast, so I'm not going to really go into it too much. But if you do have an Xbox and you have Game Pass and you're interested, this game is awesome. So just go check out Hi-Fi Rush. It's really cool. It's getting really good response from the audience. So
yeah.
And it's a nice surprise. Nobody knew this was coming, and it came out, and people love it. So
that's awesome.
But in addition to that, I'm playing a game that is relevant to the show because it's cross-platform. I started Atomic Heart.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So,
yeah. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this because I've heard a lot of different things.
So I'm probably 3 or 4 hours into Atomic Heart. I'll say 2 things. So there's a lot of hubbub online about the dialogue of the main character because he just doesn't fucking shut up. Like, think if you played Forspoken or you played the demo for Forspoken, we talked about how annoying it was that like Cuff and Freya were talking to each other and they were just like the dialogue was just bad and fucking annoying. This is like a lot more cheeky and tolerable, but I can see how it would annoy some people. Like there's like kind of I don't know if it's really developed into a meme yet, but there's something that the main character says all the time that is just fucking hilarious to me. He says like one of his exclamations is the term crispy critters, which to me is just hilarious. Yeah. He'll just be like, instead of being like holy shit, he'll be like crispy critters.
It must be a Russian thing. Is that a Russian thing?
It might be a Russian thing that I just don't understand. But
speaking of which, can I say one thing? Played by Ken wrote in and he left a comment and he said like, I had this really long comment written about it, but I can't be asked with writing it again. Asked, ASSED. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, is that an Australian thing? And he was like, yeah, I think that's the Australian coming out. I can't be asked for doing, with dealing with this again. Like, I fucking love it. Go ahead. Sorry. Countries have their own sayings. It's pertinent. Yeah. So weird.
So this game has strong BioShock Infinite vibes. Like they were clearly inspired by this.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there's a type of enemy that I just started encountering that's very Last of Us.
Okay.
Which is interesting. So like there is some stuff going on there. So positives, the atmosphere, the lore, the world, everything is fucking dope about this game. The combat is a little tough. The control, it feels a little bit wonky, which can make it kind of challenging for some people, I think. And it is difficult. I actually had to drop the combat of this game to easy because I literally, I could not get very far at all with it on normal difficulty because it's just so hard to fucking dodge these heavy attacks that these enemies throw and stuff. They knock you down all the time and stuff. But the other thing that I will say, and I actually really hate it when games do this, is that, you know how like you have to pick up resources to upgrade your gear in a lot of games?
Yeah.
This, it's like, and sometimes there's a balance as to how much shit you have to pick up to do your upgrades. In this, it's like you got to pick up so much shit all the time to be able to. So like you're constantly, everywhere you go, you're picking up stuff all the time. I'm like, this is a fucking shooter. Like, I don't want to have to do this. I want to just like naturally get resources. And then when I get to a store, be able to buy something. And if I want to go out of my way to get some more stuff, that's fine. But I don't want to be having to sit here and fucking just gather resources. 50% of the time when I'm playing the game, I'm picking shit up and it's annoying.
Yeah, you don't be asked with that.
But I will say that they do introduce this mechanic that I wish more games would introduce, where you can just hold down let's say the pickup button.
Oh,
it's like a vacuum cleaner.
And it gets everything.
Fucking like it just like sucks shit out of drawers and shit like that. It's pretty neat that they added that feature. But to me, it says like maybe you just have too much shit. Like I shouldn't have to have this feature. Maybe you just have too much shit in the game.
Right.
But I will say that I am intrigued. I almost gave up on playing it because
dude.
So like this is a little mini sidebar. I've never really had too much of an issue with input lag on games, console games. But something that I never really thought about, hotel fucking TVs do not have low latency inputs. A lot of them. So there's no game mode, there's none of that shit. And you don't realize how much of that stuff matters until you're trying to play a game that really depends on it.
They're skimping on you, man. You got to talk to your employer, man. You need to get better hotel rooms. Just fucking
dude, I've stayed in fucking fancy hotel rooms. I've stayed in shitty hotel rooms. None of them take into account people wanting to maybe hook a console up to their television. They'll have these like fucking gross ass like cable boxes on them that you have to pass through with your HDMI and all this shit.
So sick of these adults.
It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Fuck all hotels. That, and another like mini sidebar is that why is it that every single hotel room that you go to, like all of the outlets are worn out? Like you plug your fucking phone charger into it and it just falls out because the outlet is way overused. Replace this shit once a year. That's all I'm asking. They probably haven't replaced this fucking outlet in 10 years. So I try to stick my damn phone charger in it and it doesn't charge because it won't make good connection.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
All I'm saying is fuck hotel rooms.
Yeah.
If there's any hotel managers that are listening to this podcast, I'm telling you right now.
Get your shit together.
People would appreciate it if you just replace the fucking outlets in your hotel room once a year. That's all I'm saying.
As it turns out, every listener of the show is a hotel manager.
Yeah. But as far as Atomic Heart goes, like it was almost unplayable in the hotel.
Dude, that
like I was having such a hard time. Like I was doing this thing where I'd flick the stick and it would take like a second before my
So it was the TV, it wasn't the
move.
game.
Well, I was like, wow, this game must be fucked.
Yeah.
And then I got home and I downloaded it on my PC because I have Game Pass. So I just installed it on my PC because I have a gaming computer. And it worked totally fine. It was way better to play. And I was just like, you know what? Let me try it on my Xbox on my TV at home.
Yeah.
And it was way better playing it at home.
That's so
Everything
weird.
was way snappier, worked way better. So I was like, oh, it was this fucking TV in the hotel room that was the problem. But that said, I can definitely see why people think this game is like a 7 out of 10, if that makes any difference. Like it's not like it's so close. And they just need to tighten up the combat, get rid of some of this fucking shit where you're just picking up stuff all the time. But because the world and the lore and everything, I love the idea of like it being from the Russian perspective. I think it's so cool. Like I get there's all this fucking hubbub about like, oh, don't support it because it's a Russian game and blah blah blah. And I'm not taking anything away from the conflict in Ukraine, but completely aside from that, it's a pretty cool game.
Yeah.
I love that we're getting a different perspective here. And
we usually
it's not
don't
like it's
in video
propaganda or anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it anyway.
Not yet. Just wait. Jake's gonna beat Atomic Heart, and then they will have brainwashed him. Like Cobra Commander would have brainwashed Jake through playing this game. Like that's Cobra's way of getting to children, and they flash these subliminal messages in this video game Atomic Heart, and then before you know it, Jake's like moving to Russia.
I'm gonna be fucking pro Russia after that.
God.
Anyway,
that's a
sorry,
G.I. Joe
we've been going on forever on games we're playing, but
well, it's about time. We haven't been playing shit for quite a while, so I'm glad you played that. Two quick things as we're talking about games we're playing. I did not play, but my nephew Austin was really into turn-based games, and he had been talking about Octopath Traveler 2 the other day, and he said it looks awesome. He said it's really, really good. He's loving it.
Dude, you should play it.
You've played it?
Play it. I have not played it, but if it's anything at all like the first game, I think you would really like
I have $50 PSN.
So
I have $50 PSN store credit, and while I do want Octopath 2, I think there is a crew assembling to play Pavlov in VR. LJ is just bought it. We're all gonna
play it by yourself.
Yeah.
You can play it by yourself.
Okay, good to know. He also has Demio, which is...
No, I'm asking.
Oh, God, I don't know. I thought you said you could.
No, I'm asking.
I don't know. I don't...
Because if you cannot play it by yourself, I'm out. But if you can play it by yourself, I would buy it with the interest in playing it and potentially playing with you guys occasionally.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
So while we're podcasting, LJ said that he bought it. He also bought Demio, which I want to get, and that is single player, I found out. But here's the thing. He writes, Fred, I just met up with an old friend today I hadn't seen in 5 years. Found out he just got a PS5. a few months back and just bought a PSVR 2. A buddy of his came along too, and he has a PSVR 2 as well. I think I got them thinking about Pavlov. I also dropped your podcast to him. LJ, thank you so much. And then literally LJ, 2 others, me and you, and then whoever else listens to the show wants to fucking get Pavlov. Dude, I'm all in. Let's do Pavlov. It's only $30. It's a cheaper game. It's only $30.
I've been seeing that it's like a must-play VR2 game.
It's supposed to be rad, yeah.
Pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah.
I want to get something else that I can use to use my Sense controllers with, because I've been literally.
You don't have Moss yet?
7. No.
Jesus, Jake, that's a misstep.
I know, but I don't
get the
know.
bundle, dude.
Is it even available anymore?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's worth it. I'm telling you. It feels a little rinse and repeat sometimes, but they're giving you new shit as you play through in this Moss Book 2, and it's fun, dude. It's really impressive. It makes me want more platformers in VR. Anyways, let's move on to listener feedback, which means you can be a part of this part of our show. All you have to do is write in on YouTube or write us a little comment on our Patreon website. And on YouTube, Blip McDougal, which is LJ, he's on this Pavlov fucking kick. He goes, dude, I'm getting Pavlov soon. We need a PSTIA squad. Love y'all. He's 100% sold on it. It's funny because I was at work on break, and I saw this Reddit post about people being like, Pavlov 2 is the way to go if you have PSVR 2. And I just forwarded him the thing, and he goes, Fred, I'm getting it. I don't need this. He goes, just kidding. Love you, bro. He goes, I'm getting it. Like, I'm getting the game. You don't need to sell it to me. I know. He's been reading the thing.
Tell him to get Gran Turismo 7 as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah. I mean, whether you like racing or not, it's still cool. J1 writes in. This is the most controversial subject. He writes, I'm not even gonna I'm gonna read this word for word. Word for word. J1 writes, quote, I watched and hearing your last episode podcast. Take it easy, guys, because I am not a bot. Plus, Gran Turismo is still number 1. End quote.
And everything is intercapped.
Did you notice that? Every word is a capital letter starting with. So I wrote, yes, LOL, we love you, J1. This post made my day. Fred, full apology coming in episode 266. He writes back, every word intercapped. PS, this is awesome PlayStation podcast. Thanks. J1, you're making it really hard to believe you, man. Apology given. I am sorry. If you are a true listener of this show, if you really are, you have to be some amazing AI to comb through our full audio podcast and be able to say, take it easy, guys. Like, you have to be human. But why is every letter capitalized in the beginning of every song? It's just confusing. I think you're messing with us. I think you're real. Thanks for listening. That's where I'm falling on it. J1, the question is bot or not. I'm going to say not bot. J1 not bot. I apologize. But I didn't mean it in an offensive way. We just thought you were a bot. In the way you could be from another country. You could maybe not be great with writing or typing or understanding the English language. I get that. So I'm not going to criticize based on what you're writing. But the fact that everything is capitalized, first letter, is strange to me. Maybe you're doing it on a phone. Maybe it's a setting on your phone. Maybe you're just speed typing on your phone, which could be possible. So, J1, I appreciate you listening. We have a Patreon site, patreon.com/PS. This is awesome. I'm kidding. No, we do love you, dude. Thank you for watching and listening to our podcast. Apologies. Next one, Mando. And I don't know who Mando is. Mando's recent to the podcast. So thanks for tuning in again, Mando. He goes, you guys played Elden Ring? Thoughts on the DLC finally teased on the Twitter? And I said, Jake's played Elden Ring. We'll address this question on 266. Jake, is this in the show news or anything? Do you know anything about... I have not played Elden Ring.
Yeah, so I do have a news point in here about the fact that the Elden Ring's first expansion, Shadow of the Erd Tree, was announced. And that is very cool. I am super stoked for the Elden Ring fanatics of the world, of which there are many, because I think that game sold like fucking 20 million copies or some shit, which is insane. But I will say that as much as I loved my time with Elden Ring, that game just gets to a point, like those types of games, I'll dive in hard for like 20 or 30 hours, and then eventually it just grinds me down enough that I can't do it anymore. And Elden Ring, I got farther with Elden Ring than any other Souls-like game on the planet. I got like 30 hours into Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But then I finally got to a point where I was just like, I just want to play something easier. And I know that sounds really wimpy of me, but at the same time, it's like,
that's who you are.
My time is so precious when I'm playing games that like I don't want to spend the whole time on edge. So, Mando, I appreciate the write-in. I am excited for the DLC because I love the discourse around Elden Ring, and I love watching how it's being received, and I'm curious what they're going to come up with. Maybe it will drive me to jump back into it. But I never did beat Elden Ring specifically just because it was just too much for me. But I do appreciate the game, and I think that it is an amazing title.
Well, thanks for responding to Mando, because I have zero experience with that. Hopefully I don't lose gamer cred because I haven't played Elden Ring. I played a lot of games. That one just didn't. Those Souls-like games don't really. I don't know, man. My time, like Jake said, like my time is just so precious. We sound like a bunch of like, oh, we're too good to play that game, or time means more. It's just like, I don't know. I think what it is like I have a lot of irons and a lot of fires. Like I got 2 bands. We do this podcast. We've been doing the Last of Us podcast. I work a full-time job. I got a family. I like to play board games. I have to write songs. I got to record songs. Don't have a ton of time to sit down and invest in a game like Elden Ring and really learn the ins and outs. If I had infinite time, or if I was retired right now, dude, I would totally be trying it for sure. But great question, Mando. Thank you. And then One Black Talon says, let us know if you get Demio, since it's a board game, Dungeon RPG. One Black Talon, yes, I'm going to get it. Do you have a VR too? Because he keeps asking about the... how am I going to store it and stuff? I think One Black Talon went in on VR2. If you have one, if you have Pavlov or interested in that, dude, jump on in. I don't know that we're buds on the PSN. Anchorless_81. I'll game with you. We'll get some Demio stuff going. It'll be fun for sure. Build this community up. Mando writes back. I love that Mando is like catching up on Lost Podcasts. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I'm in. He's writing us. I want to talk about this one because I think this is an interesting question. What's your guys' thoughts how most of the games coming out on PSN seem to be these low-effort indie games? So many side-scrolling or platform games looking like they are for the Sega Genesis. No quality control, Sony? My response to Mando was, retro-looking games did make a comeback for a while. PlayStation have taken some efforts to remove or prohibit trophyware or junk games. Some of the side-scrolling Sega-looking games you're seeing still have a place in gaming. And I said there was a point where I was getting really sick of them, though. We were getting a lot of these kind of games for a long time, and like every game started to kind of they lost the novelty. It was like, okay, cool, pixel art, 16-bit, cool. But like, what else do you have? Are you a good game, or are you just like copying this retro style? Jake?
So this goes back, I don't know how old you are, Mando, but this goes back to the early days of the Xbox Live Arcade. And if you've ever seen Indie Game the Movie, specifically games like Super Meat Boy and Braid, and I think there was one other game that they covered in that movie. I can't really remember. But and then leading into games like Shovel Knight, and you want to talk about like Axiom Verge. Like these are games that were made in that style that are, quite frankly, better than a lot of AAA games that come out. And so, like everything in a capitalist industry, people they see that and they run with it. And the thing is that these games are being made probably partially because when you say low effort, I'm kind of hesitant to use that terminology, because I think that what it boils down to is less that these games are low effort and more that lesser experienced developers now have access to PlayStation like they did not have before. So someone like me who has limited experience in coding could make a game and I could get it on PSN. It would not be a problem.
All Jake would have to do is use chatbot.
Well, I could use that, but I mean, like, what I'm driving at is that, like, literally anybody can make a game now and get it on PSN. And I think that when you say, is there a lack of quality control, I do believe that is part of it. But at the same time, Sony also wants to make their platform available to everyone who wants to develop a
aspiring
game. Now,
developers.
Does it cause problems with clutter in the PSN? Yes, and it is a problem, and I don't know how you fix that. I honestly feel like they would be better off having like a subset of the store that's like, if you're not don't take this word verboten, but like A-list developer, you get released. You're like in a subset of the PlayStation Store. Right, where it's like, okay, these are the new teams. These are like the first time developers. These are the lower budget productions. So like, if you're looking for something weird, you fucking go there and you can find what people are coming up with and let word of mouth kind of float the games to the top and stuff. But right now, everything is just kind of tossed into the same bucket, and that's why we get these release lists every week where it's like fucking 40 games that are being released on PSN that week, and 38 of them you've never heard of before. And so to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that those other games are bad or that they're not worth publishing.
Yeah.
But that maybe there needs to be a little bit more discrimination on what is visible and how it is visible to the audience, so that it's not confusing to the average gamer.
It's really
like, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
If I'm a Call of Duty / Madden player, I don't want to see all this shit on my store. Like, I should be able to sort of like, customize my experience a little bit. And, I guess maybe it's, I don't know. I really don't have the answer to this. But like I said, I'm hesitant to say that these are low effort, because it could be that an inexperienced developer really dedicated their life to making this game, and just because they're inexperienced or it's their first game, it just may not be something that you've heard of, or maybe it's not something that is really that great compared to something like an Axiom Verge or whatever.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Interesting. So I just want to say one last thing about what you're saying, and it's a double-edged sword to be too controlling over what people see. Being a musician who has my music on all of the streaming platforms available, and never, ever, ever will I be afforded the opportunity to just show up on, hey, what's new? Someone opens up iTunes. They're not going to see One If by Land like when we release our new record. Never going to fucking happen. The only way, and we're a good band. We just are. I mean, the bottom line is we write good music. We've been doing it for a long time. We put out good records. Obviously, it's up to the listener. But if you like the style of music that we play, you're going to like our band. And the only bands or musicians that I ever see when I get on Spotify or I get on Apple Music or I get on, wherever, are like the biggest of the biggest, right? So what that inherently will do is not only is it disheartening for aspiring musicians who want their stuff to be seen and heard by other people, it also kind of is discouraging to use those platforms. Because I mean, when you're an indie developer, I can probably compare that a little bit to being like an indie musician. Like, we don't have a publicist. We can't afford one. We don't have a record label. We live in a small town. The only way for us to get noticed is probably to get lucky with a single somewhere and have it catch on somewhere, and then a meme or something. We can play shows every weekend, and the only people who are going to know about us are the people that are interested enough to come out to our indie concert, right? So we are only ever being made available to people who are just generally interested in that shit. So the room for growth for other people to latch on and find what we're doing, so slim. It's so difficult. And I'm sure it's the same way for AAA or single A gamers or indie developers. So if they know every time they put their shit on the PlayStation Store, it's just going to get sent to the back, like, that's incentive enough just not even try to fucking make a game, because there's a lot of costs with that. There's a lot of expenses with that. So in a way, I guess then you're getting games that are developed strictly mainly as labors of love, right? People who have their heart in it and they want to do it because it means something to them. And generally speaking, those are the games that I want to play anyways. But there's got to be some middle ground in which we can get exposed to new titles. If they put a rating system up, but then the problem is you see the shit on Metacritic, right? Where people review bomb good shit and people like rate dumb shit really well because they think it's funny, and then it just fucks up the system. So I don't know of a good way to do this for video games, and I have yet to find a way to do it for my music. It's really a difficult scenario, and I get, as a consumer, it would be ideal not to be bombarded with all these indie things that all look the same and all work the same. But like, somewhere in the back of your mind, you have to remember that people, this is somebody's livelihood. This is somebody's game. They spent time creating it. And, you know, I'm not saying that makes it good, but to some degree, everybody should deserve a chance to have a little bit of promotion or something, so long as it meets some sort of criteria, right? As long as it's not, I don't know, some shit is just, I mean, 100% of the people will agree it's garbage, right? 100%. Like, there are games out there where it's like, yeah, I would never buy this ever. And everyone's like, yeah, me either. And it just shows up and it's like right in your face on the PSN. I don't know how that happens. They've been working on this though. Sony has they've taken some strides to, be a little stricter on the games that they are accepting. So I don't know. It's an interesting problem with and what it is it's a strainer. It's a filter. There's so much content out there. We see it with music. There's so many bands. There's so many cover bands. There's so many people just spewing out garbage that it's hard to find a strainer that just pulls out the good stuff for you. So
the problem is it's kind of like a thing, I think, a little bit in sort of economics. It's kind of like when everybody has access, nobody has access.
Right.
If that makes any sense, right? So now the internet, it used to be that if you had the skill to make something and get on the internet and have a YouTube channel and do all this stuff, you had a really good chance of being noticed as long as you were persistent.
Right.
But now, because of the way that the internet is developed, everybody can do anything all the time whenever they want for free. So there's so much shit on the internet that it's like winning the lottery if you get noticed. Like, literally, it's like winning the lottery if you get noticed.
Yeah, you can put the work in, the time in, and have something really awesome, but you're never going to get noticed because there's so much static out there.
And because of the way that capitalism works, and this is not a pitch for or against capitalism,
right?
But there are companies that control the market and they're willing to take money to float your shit to the top.
Yeah.
So that people can see it. That's how Spotify works.
Yeah.
That's how YouTube works. That's how that's how the PSN works. That's how all of these companies work. That's part of their revenue stream. Is that like, if you're willing to pay, and this is a real number, if you're willing to pay Sony $20,000, you can get an ad for your game on the PSN.
Yeah. Well, that's how it was when we were in a band called Signal Home and we were touring. Our label, and when we were signed, our last band, we had Sony distribution, and we our label, there was a site called Pure Volume, and they would spend $5,000 every once in a while to get us on the front page, and we noticed a spike in interest in our band every time they did it, and it was like, this is ridiculous. Like, it takes money to get seen, and when you don't have the money, it doesn't matter how good your shit is. And that's why YouTube is the way that YouTube is. Once you have a big enough audience that you put ads on your YouTube channel, YouTube takes a cut of those ads, that revenue. They take a cut. So do you think they're going to put you in the back burner once they start making money off your channel? No, man, they're going to promote it. And then what? Your audience turns from 10,000 people to 25,000 people to fucking 40,000 people. And maybe you were making good content for 5 years before you finally got that first 10,000, or 10 years, or 15 years. We've been a podcast for over 10 years. We haven't hit a number that YouTube cares enough about us yet. So, and it's like the same with video games. I really think it is. Unless you really do something awesome that catches on, the right person sees it, they share it, someone else shares it, someone else shares it, and then before you know it, you wake up the next morning. And unfortunately, a lot of times, people wake up the next morning regretting what got circulated on the internet these days. But sometimes it's really good stuff, Sometimes it's really good stuff. And, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, man. I don't know. But I think everyone deserves a chance, at least, to have their game looked at. Same with music. I think everyone should have a chance to have their music show up randomly on somebody's phone when they're scrolling through the shit. And I'm not saying everybody's phone needs to show, this or that. And I'm saying the PSN store for everybody needs to show that shitty AAA game when they load it up. But if they just had this weird circulating thing where they just throw it out once in a while, like a random fucking game, just so you could see something different, that might be an answer. I don't know. I'm done. I'm done with that answer. Mando, I hope that answered you. Hope that you feel good about that. Mando had one more. I don't really have much to say about it. He just had a comment. He said, I agree about the Suicide Squad gameplay. It looks bland based off the chat during the state of play. People weren't happy with any of it. Most are disappointed. I hope PS gives us something more exciting next time. I think we all felt that way about the state of play. I hope we get something really cool next time. Let's get into the news.
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah. I think the general consensus on that is that the narrative parts looked fucking awesome and everything else looked boring.
Yeah.
So we'll see though.
Yeah. I was watching the Digital Foundry guys, and they were talking about on their 100th episode, they were talking about, the one guy was like, Harley Quinn with a Gatling gun flying around. That's not the Harley Quinn that we think of when we think of Harley Quinn. What are you guys doing? They're pretty much just saying this game clearly was just being ran by Warner Brothers executives. All the creative decisions probably were just being made by them because they wanted to make money as a games of service. But yeah. I mean, it's not in a good place right now with what they've shown us. News. Let's talk about the news.
Do you want me to drive this?
What's that?
Do you want me to drive it since I put it together?
Yeah, and I'll start writing shit down for the timestamps. Go ahead.
Okay. So, as always, we get a lot of our news from Push Square. I like to pull a lot of stuff from Video Games Chronicle too, so we've pulled a lot of this stuff from both of those websites. We don't put in-depth sourcing in our news points. We're just kind of reiterating, just as long as you guys understand that we're just regurgitating shit that we see online. We're not breaking anything. We're not finding anything out ourselves. The first thing I want to put on here is that even though neither Fred or I are much of Fortnite, neither of us really are into it or interested in it or have played it really, we know that some of our listeners are interested in Fortnite, which makes sense because Fortnite is such a huge thing. And so data miners recently have found out that the immensely popular game is getting a first-person mode this coming season, which is kind of interesting because Fortnite has always been a third-person game. And I always found this interesting because even though I never really got into Fortnite, I did play PUBG for a little bit on PC way back when it first launched because it was such a phenomenon. So I had to kind of check it out. And PUBG has had first-person mode basically since launch, and it has always been widely considered the best way to play the game. It's the most immersive, the most competitive, blah, blah, blah. Now, PUBG is obviously a little bit more – there's a little bit more realism in that versus Fortnite, which is like a cartoon nightmare. But who knows how well this is going to translate to Fortnite? Because if you've ever watched videos of Fortnite, it's literally just people just erecting buildings out of nothing. And I don't know what the fuck is going on all the time because there's so much building and shit going on. Maybe the first person mode is not going to be able to utilize, like you're not going to, it's like different modes or whatever. I don't know. But I'm not sure if anybody's even excited for that. So if some of the people that listen to us, if you're interested in Fortnite, are you interested in a first person mode or not? I don't know. Let us know because that's kind of intriguing to me that they're finally introducing first person. They must have found that some of their audience was clamoring for it. Otherwise, why would they do it?
Right.
So I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead. I don't have anything to say about this news point. I've never even tried Fortnite, and I've never even played PUBG. So this is so far outside of my understanding of video games. You know, look at my beard. Like I don't fucking play Fortnite, man.
So PUBG was always interesting to me because it really did in the first person mode. The graphics are like semi-realistic. The worlds are semi-realistic. You drop into this island. It almost has like a Hunger Games or a Battle Royale, the movie Battle Royale kind of feel to it. Awesome. Where you're just like literally on this island and you're like, is there anyone around? And you're sneaking around and you're trying not to be seen and you're just trying to scavenge shit. And it seems like it's it was a lot more immersive, especially in the first person mode. But like whenever I kind of started seeing Fortnite and it's all cartoony and everyone's kind of jumping around and it's all about skins and it's all flashy and colorful and people are building buildings and stuff. Yeah. And like it lost that kind of je ne sais quoi to me a little bit. And that's why I never really got into it. So I'm curious if first person mode will add a little bit back in to Fortnite. We'll have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. And my comment about look at my beard, I don't play Fortnite, that sounded kind of stupid. But what I meant was I'm fucking old. Like I just don't have interest in that. I feel like the age range of people that play Fortnite is much younger than myself, I think. I don't know. I just don't think like I'd really fit in.
Anyway, so news point number 2. According to a filing with the SEC, Sony is reportedly responsible for more than $3 billion or roughly 16% of AMD's sales. So those of you who don't know who AMD is a microchip manufacturer. They make CPUs for computers and consoles. They make video cards. They make all kinds of stuff. And considering how big they are in the PC space and the fact that Sony and Microsoft both use AMD for their chipsets, the fact that Sony is the largest contributor to their profits, huge, like single contributor to their profits or their revenue, is a testament to how vibrant the PS5 is, especially now that it's available and more people are able to buy them and stuff. They've sold like 30 million copies.
It's such a good system.
Dude, and kind of tangential to this, I didn't put it in the news, but there have been some reportings that Sony is reportedly outselling the Xbox Series X and S consoles combined by like 2-1, which is pretty bananas after only 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think Sony's sitting at right around 30 million units in 2 years, which is pretty impressive. I'm excited to see that now that PS5s are in the wild. I can imagine that's only going to increase. So good for them. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, AMD
cool.
Advanced Micro Devices is what that stands for. I think it's just written on the wall there, right? Like it's just like this is just a fact right now, and we know there was a semiconductor shortage and all that stuff. So doesn't Sony have like a ton of shares or something now in AMD or something? Don't they own a portion of AMD now or something? Aren't they like in cahoots? Or am I thinking of another company? I thought that they had gone into some sort of agreement with AMD.
Sony bought into a few different companies in the last couple years, but I don't remember if AMD was one of them.
I'm looking this up right now. Hold on one second. Did Sony buy into AMD?
So while you're looking that up, I'll just say real quick that it has been confirmed that the PS Plus Essential games for March will be what we talked about last week, which is Battlefield 2042, Minecraft Dungeons, and Code Vein. So not really a bombastic news point. I just wanted to put that out there. Did you find anything?
No, I just pretty much the thing that you're talking about is with them just being their largest customer. I thought that they had some sort of, not behind the scenes, very, very public, but some sort of relationship. the relationship is obvious. Sony's a really big customer of AMD, but I thought it went a little deeper than that. I could be wrong. What's the next news point?
So the next thing I have on the list here, and I mentioned to Fred kind of before the show started that there really isn't a lot of news this week that's, at least as far as we're concerned, really all that interesting. So I'm just kind of throwing some stuff out there. And one of the things that I found was kind of interesting is that Sony has partnered with LeBron James to release DualSense and PS5 console covers. So DualSense controllers and PS5 console covers. And I'm not sure why they did this. Like, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know if it has anything to do with NBA 2K or anything like that, but they're actually pretty fucking cool looking. They're like this like kind of graffiti art style. They're like black with like these neon kind of graffiti words and kind of designs on them. And they look really cool. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to buy them. Yeah. But I think it's kind of neat that they're doing something like this. Maybe it means that we'll get more stuff like this in the future.
Yeah. Like there's some like inspiration quotes like on the DualSense. It says like nothing is given, everything is earned. Chosen ones. I don't know. I don't know what it means. It must have something to do with LeBron, I would imagine. But
yeah, I mean, neither of us are really basketball fans, so it's kind of hard to really know what any of this stuff. I'm sure it's like his brand or whatever, but like, because it's got all of the like the crowns and stuff like that and his signature. But
like Janko's.
I don't know. I just think it's like they're black. The controller and the covers for the console are black, and then they just have this like graffiti design.
Really loud graffiti. And
I think neon. like the controller specifically is just kind of neat looking. I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't buy one, but I think it's just interesting. So anyway, that's cool. I'm just hoping that like this kind of means that maybe they'll partner with other people and we may see some stuff that we actually do care about. Coming down the pipe or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of neat. So moving on, the next news point is that, so I don't know if you saw this, Fred, but there was like 14 minutes of Dead Island 2 gameplay.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it.
Week. And I was looking at it and I was watching it and it looks like it might actually be kind of decent. Honestly, to me, it just looks like Dying Light a little bit. The characters running around with all these melee weapons, it looked like they were homemade. Kind of like in Dying Light, how you can like craft all those different types of weapons and stuff. These seem like maybe they're a little bit more. To be completely honest, I've never played a Dead Island game, so maybe you could do this in the original Dead Island game: is craft these kind of wacky melee weapons and stuff.
I've played Dead Island, but I don't remember.
So it just, I mean, it looks. For a game that's been so tortured in development, it's been through like 3 developers and three different studios over the course of like 10 years or some shit. It actually looks like it might come out and be a decent game. Like, it doesn't look bad in the gameplay that they're showing. So, I mean, I'm always rooting for games to look good. I'm kind of interested to see how this does.
So I'm looking, and it looks like there is weapon crafting in the original Dead Island based on what I'm seeing online. So, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I liked Dead Island when I played it. That one and Dead Island Riptide, they were both fun games. I enjoyed them. I don't think I had beaten. I want to say Dead Island Riptide was Dead Island with the expansion. I don't think I beat any of them.
No, Riptide was like Dead Island 1.5. It was its own game.
Oh, okay. I played them both then, and I liked it. It was good. It was fun. It was interesting, man. I had no bones to pick with Dead Island on the PS3. Might even been.
But don't you think it's a little bit wild that a game can be just shoveled from developer to developer? Like, this game has so much and still kind of look good. Like, you would expect almost that it would be. I mean, I guess maybe they wouldn't release it if it was going to be bad, but like, it looks way better than I expected it to. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on 1 second, listeners, because you're gonna get some audio I don't want you to get. Hold on 1 second. I gotta mute this.
What you're about?
I just kind of want to watch this here real quick because I didn't watch this. Dude, it looks just like Dead Island Riptide, except way cleaner. Like, upgraded.
Yeah, I just kind of scrubbed through it.
The weapon wheel looks kind of cool. I like how it's like a ring of blood. All the blood is awesome. The blood on the guy's hand as he's shooting, like your character, picking up gas cans and throwing it and shit. It actually looks really good, man. This is just 17 seconds of me just scrubbing through. It almost, to me, looks like a more weapon, like a more crafting-esque Far Cry based in like a zombie apocalypse. Like, some of the characters, the zombies look pretty messed up, dude. Like, I know the listeners, what I would like to do, Jake, is on our OBS here when we're recording this podcast, it would be really cool. We're doing this a free way still. We don't have enough patrons yet to buy whatever Riverside or whatever people use to do podcasting and record it all. So we have, while I'm watching this, we have Discord video chat going on. And then I'm pulling Jake's video into OBS and my video into OBS, so I don't to cut back on editing, just to record this whole thing with the backdrop and everything that you guys see on YouTube. That's all recorded live on OBS, and then I just upload it after doing some minimal editing afterwards. But it would be cool to have like something like Riverside or a podcasting specific chat like this, because when we record this, because I could pull this YouTube video up on Discord and see it integrated into our podcast, but you wouldn't be able to see what I'm looking at. Now, with a program like Riverside, we could pull it in there. We could both look at it at the same time in real time and have commentary on what we're seeing. And that would make for a better podcast, I think. We could pull in video clips.
It would definitely be neat. We would have to be careful
just
with
mute it.
Gameplay and stuff to avoid like cease and desists and all this kind of shit, especially if there's licensed music in it or anything like that. But it would be kind of a neat sort of addendum to our podcast, something that allow us to sort of comment on things in real time, especially if we could do like live reactions to things like state of plays and stuff.
We definitely could if we just had a couple more. I'm not trying to sell Patreon to anybody. But I mean, if we could get up to like 20 subscribers or something, we totally could afford to do that. But yeah, man, I mean, in a lot of video podcast places always scrub gameplay videos and stuff, and they put the volume in there. And I think as long as it's reviewing and you're critiquing, they can't hit you with cease and desist. I think it's when you're kind of just putting it out there.
I think it depends though where you're getting it from, how they got the license, if it's anything at all that might be considered like leaked footage or anything like that.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful with that.
You've got to be really careful about that kind of stuff. So, but if it's something like a Sony press conference or whatever, I don't think that really matters all that.
Or
much,
just
right?
like
but
this, like
they want more. The more promotion, the better.
Like a game showcase,
probably, right? But,
yeah.
So anyway, moving on.
Yeah, sorry, there's a digression.
We kind of commented previously about how we're sort of over the whole Activision Microsoft deal, which is fine. But this week, the FTC announced that they've requested, I don't know if they announced it, but they have requested documentation from Sony regarding their third-party exclusive deals dating back to January of 2019. And this is going to be something that's going to go into effect because Microsoft is basically playing the underdog here and talking about how Sony's kicking our ass. There's no reason why we can't have Activision, blah, 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 blah. You know, say what you will about that. I don't really have any comments on it. But so as a result, the FTC is like, well, Sony, what kind of exclusives are you drumming up on your end that might kind of contribute to what Microsoft is saying? And so that stuff is going to be reviewed. I don't know if you have any comments on this. I really don't, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that this is one of the first times that a trade organization or a like a trust organization has really requested exclusivity information out of Sony, because this was always kind of like the one thing that Sony has been hoping that nobody brings up, because they have a history of going out and tagging exclusives for their platform. Now, granted, none of them are on the scale of this fucking $70 billion Activision deal, but they are the market leader and they are doing exclusive content for their platform.
Marvel Spider-Man, and they have a couple other things. They got that Wolverine game coming down the mix. Who knows what that's about?
But I think that this is relating to their third-party exclusives.
Oh,
Spider-Man and Wolverine are both first-party games, so there's really no bad.
Do they have
there.
many third-party exclusives? I mean, like you say, the Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, think about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mean, that game was big. Huge, and it's still exclusive to PlayStation. So
wouldn't it be funny if they did all the digging and they were like, yeah, Square never signed an exclusivity deal. They just want to work with us. Only.
I can believe it. I mean, games just like that just don't sell as well on Microsoft.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm sure Sony signed some of these deals.
We're going to find out that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be a third-party exclusive to Sony or something.
Which would be fucking bananas.
Right now, someone's shitting their pants if that's what the case is, and they have to show that off and say, like, fine, they got us.
If they found out, I could tell you right now, if they found out that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to be a Sony exclusive, that alone might be enough to push the Microsoft Activision deal through. Because, like, what the fuck? I mean, that game, like, the only game bigger than Call of Duty in terms of a single game is fucking, I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold like 150 million copies. It's fucking
Could you
ludicrous.
imagine if they had that like locked and loaded, and now they're getting hit with this request, and now like someone's just like in a panic attack, like can't sleep at night, fucking phone's blowing up.
They're like calling up Rockstar, like, don't sign the papers yet. Don't sign the papers yet. Wait.
Listen, let's unsign them, and then you can sign them again after we show them. You know, trying to finagle some sort of like under the table agreement. Yeah, I mean, this is all obviously speculation. There's no way they have an exclusivity agreement with Rockstar, but that would be amazing for Sony.
It would be wild.
But I just can't imagine the stress. Like they like that scenario would be like got him by the balls. Your whole like the whole time after that sign, you like got him by the balls, like, you know, and then you're living high on life and everything's going great, and then you get hit with this thing in the mail. It's like you get subpoenaed to like show everything, and you're like, oh fuck, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like instant, just boom, 180. Like life sucks.
That's the type of deal. That's the type of deal you wait for until like after
the shit settles.
FTC has slapped down the fucking Activision deal, and then Sony comes out with it just like drops that phone book on their head, and they're just like,
dude, can you imagine what a mess this will be if that actually happens? What a mess this will be. There's no way Rockstar would ever
Jim Ryan
agree to that.
from the top rope.
Yeah, dude, there's no fucking in the turnbuckle.
Oh man. Anyway, we'll just have to see how that plays out. But anyway, moving on. I don't know, Fred, did you ever play Wolf Among Us?
Yeah, I loved it.
So The Wolf Among Us was a Telltale game, came out after The Walking Dead Season 1. It was awesome. I really liked it. It was comic book inspired by, what was the series? Fairy, oh fuck, it wasn't called Fairy Tales, right? It was
I'll look it up. You keep talking about it.
Yeah, so The Wolf Among Us was a Telltale game that came out right after season 1 of The Walking Dead, and it was really well received. Well, we've been waiting a long time. Fables. We've been waiting a long time for The Wolf Among Us season 2, and finally we got announced that since Telltale has been reopened under, I think, Skybound, that they're going to make a second season of The Wolf Among Us. Everybody's stoked. The trailer looked awesome. Really excited for it. Well, Telltale has come out and they've announced that it's been delayed to 2024. It was supposed to come out this year to, quote, avoid crunch and deliver the sequel that the fans deserve. So,
this game's been in
not really a
development
huge news point.
Time.
Yeah, not really a huge news point. I would rather them delay it. This is one of those games where, like, I don't care about it until it's out. So I've got enough shit to play. When it comes out, I'll be excited about it. Until then, I don't care.
Right, like if you died like this week, one of your like regrets as you're floating above your headstone isn't like, fuck, now I can't play Wolf Among Us 2. Like that's not, you know what I mean? It's like it's not one of those. It's not like Diablo 4 or some shit where you're like, fuck, man, I'll never have a chance to do that, or I won't get to play Last of Us 3 because I died. This sucks. Like Wolf Among Us 2 is like one of those games. I'm happy it's gonna happen, but yeah, like you said, man, like I'm not chomping at the bit. So take your time.
Yeah, especially because of the source material. Like, just fucking read the Fables comics because it's kind of based on that, right? So you can kind of get the world a little bit from there. Because I did buy like the first 3 or 4 volumes of Fables, and it is a good comic series. So I am interested in seeing The Wolf Among Us 2, but it's been delayed, so hopefully no one's too upset about that. But if it means we're going to get a better game and not like the janky shit that Telltale is used to delivering, then I'm all about it. Next news point, number 8. I don't think this is really all that important to this podcast other than it being a kind of Sony thing, is that the Forspoken developer, Luminous Productions, who is a part of Square Enix, apparently that developer is being folded into Square Enix's main developer team after we would assume this is because Forspoken did not do well.
It was not commercially successful, I don't think.
It was not critically successful, and I don't know if it's how well it sold. I think it was on the charts for a month or two. So I don't think that it like was necessarily a horribly selling game.
I'd like to see
it's got some stink to it.
I'd like to see how much money they put into promotion for this game.
It was being advertised a lot.
There's no way it has much of a gross, man. After the amount of time they put into developing it, and then all of the ad placements and like them talking about it, the fucking state of play, how much money was put into this goddamn game? Like, so much.
Dude, this game could have been so fucking cool. I am so upset that they... And it's the little things that they botched on this. Like we talked about previously, like the dialogue and stuff. Like, that just makes the game so annoying. Like, the way the game is written makes it so annoying to play. And... Because I thought some of the combat and stuff was really cool, but the controls were fucked on it. Like... And there's just some stuff that, like, it was like 1 or 2 fucking page flips away from being a cool ass game. And it ended up being a flop, and that's unfortunate. And now it's in this Luminous Productions, I think, also did Final Fantasy 15, which it was pretty divisive as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this team might just not be a team anymore. I think they might just be splitting it up and sending the developers to different locations within Square Enix, which is probably good for the company, but it sucks for them, and I feel bad for them and what what became of that studio.
I guess the other thing is though too is like, you know, if they weren't able to churn out a game of the caliber that people expected, then maybe they can learn a thing or two at Square, these developers, right? Maybe they can learn a little bit more about the craft. I'm not saying that the game was, there were parts of it that were kind of jank in the demo. That's all I played, you know, and from what I've heard, the way the writing was in there, and it just fell flat. And like maybe some of the folks who made those decisions, when they go to Square, if they go to Square Enix, maybe they'll get better, you know? Maybe they'll move on to better things, bigger things. So you got to look at the silver lining.
You just have to feel for, like, as creatives ourselves, you have to feel for the people that put their heart and soul into this game for a couple of years.
100%.
And then you find out that because of some production decisions, it ends up being this nightmare.
Yeah, that sucks.
You know, because, you know, the guy that was animating the fucking
attack moves,
fire attacks and shit, like that actually looks awesome in the game, you know, they're not going to feel better about it.
Right. He's going to get a job at Naughty Dog, so. Or she is, or whoever it was.
Maybe.
Dude, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you know, again, this is just the business of video games. It does suck, though. Let's go to the next one, Jake. Oh, this is one I put on here. This was interesting. If anyone recalls, CD Projekt Red had there was a class action settlement against them with the horrendous release of Cyberpunk 2077. A lot of people who had purchased stocks for the company, I don't know what year frame it was. I guess there's a class action settlement. CD Projekt Red agreed to settle $1.85 million to anyone who purchased stocks within the time frame is like a year. If you purchased any CD Projekt Red stocks in this year, you are eligible to be part of the settlement and get a little bit of money back. So I don't know how many people that would be.
Dude, that's fucking nothing.
Yeah, that's 1.85 million is nothing. I'm sure.
Do you have any idea how much money they made on Cyberpunk?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they made back their development fees in like the first day.
Yeah, and Project Red stocks are still down because of that game. So people did lose some money on it. I actually picked up, I've been doing the stock market a little bit. I picked up a couple of CD Projekt Red like a year before the game released. Just thinking like, you know, if this thing fucking takes off and it's awesome, then maybe the stocks will go up. So I probably lost like, I don't know, $50 or $60 or some shit. I don't really care about it. But I got one of these notices in the mail that was like, hey, you can sign up and be part of this class action suit and get a settlement payment. You got to go to this website.
You get like $3 probably.
Who the fuck knows? I might do it just so I can talk about it on the podcast and let you guys know how much I get.
You should.
I should do it. I stand nothing to lose. I think they said that 30% of this 1.85 million on the postcard I got goes towards legal fees, and then up to $40,000 for something else for the lawyers. So I did the math. Like if you do 30% of 1.85 million and then take another 40,000 off, it leaves you with like $100 or $1,250,000 or something to split between only the people who purchased new shares of CD Projekt Red. I don't think you can be a previously existing stockholder. I think you had to have bought into the company in that certain time frame. The maximum, so the maximum they say on the settlement, because I looked it over, this is why I put it in the podcast. That was funny. The maximum that they are per the settlement allowed to give any individual who this applies to in the settlement is $5,000. So that is where it caps out. There's no way anyone's getting $5,000. We're talking probably $10, you know, honestly, $5 to $10. This would be my guess. But I'll probably do it. The only way someone's getting
$5,000 if like a holding company or something bought like 1 million shares of fucking CD Projekt Red or something.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how else. I mean, like, let me do the fucking math here real quick. Let's figure this. I mean, I had it all kind of figured out last night when I was looking at the postcard. So 1,850,000 times 0.3 which is what the attorneys get. So they're going to get $555,000 for setting up the settlement. So $500,000 is going towards
should have been a fucking lawyer, dude.
Towards the attorneys, right, involved. And then add $40,000 onto that because we know they're going to take the max. Almost $600,000, $595,000 of the $1,850 minus 5,005. What did I say? 5,550. 5,000. What did I say? 900. What did I say? God damn it! What did I say? 50.
I don't know, man.
Times 0.3. Hold on. Plus 40. 1, 2, 3. 595,000. Remember that number. 595,000. We're gonna figure this out right here on the show. 108,500 minus $595,000 leaves $1,255,000, not including taxes. So, and the most any person could get is $5,000. To get $5,000, you take this number, divide it by 5,000. 251 people buy stocks in this time frame. If only 251 people bought CD Projekt Red stocks in a year, which is not, you'll get $5,000. So we said, so the worst case scenario, 85,000 minus 595,000. Let's say Fred wants $10. 125,500 people bought CD Projekt Red stocks will get me $10. That probably sounds a little more reasonable.
I'd be shocked if you got $10. I'm just saying.
Me too. That's what I'm saying. You look at the postcard, you're like, oh, $1.85 million, class action, maybe I can get involved in this. And then you start doing the fucking math, and it's like, no, man. If 100,000 people bought into CD Projekt Red in all of the world during the run-up to Cyberpunk 2077, you'll get $10 with the settlement. But the lawyers get $500,000. So that's just the way the world works, guys. But I might sign up to do it just to see what I get. Why the fuck not?
You should do it for that fucking 50-cent check you're going to get.
Yeah, because they didn't put my song in the damn game. This is my way of getting back. That's probably why I didn't get put in, is because I owned a couple shares of CD Projekt Red. There's probably something in the clause. Dude, let's just say that's the reason. It's not because our song sucks. All right.
Okay, so there's one news point left that is really not anything at all.
I got to take a leak.
Because we already talked about the Elden Ring expansion. Is that there's a remaster of the Outer Worlds coming out called SPACER'S Choice Edition, and it has been confirmed for all platforms, even PlayStation. Even though Obsidian is now a Microsoft studio, the Outer Worlds SPACER'S Choice Edition is coming to PS5 and PS4. So if you have not played the Outer Worlds, it's fucking dope. You should buy this and play it. That's all I'm saying.
Very good. Never played it.
You should play it. It's really good. If you like Fallout, you'll like this game. Oh. It's not as deep as Fallout, but it's got that same aesthetic, that same feel, that same drive. The storytelling is really good. Highly recommended.
Not to be confused with Outer Wilds.
I know. And they came out around the same time, which is really fucking annoying.
It's ridiculous. Well, Mr. Peters, we are getting close to that time in the podcast. And I guess let's talk about the new games coming out. Let's talk about the new games. Must be nice to be LJ right now. That's all I'm saying.
LJ fucking cool it with the VR games, all right?
We're sitting here doing the podcast, and he's got his Discord, because he's been on the show a couple times, so he's connected with us on Discord here. And he must have a sync to his PlayStation.
I've seen the video of you in your fucking pajamas playing VR and shit.
Yeah.
Looking like a fool.
Well, hey, your wife told me she got you pulling a fucking bow back, too, so he's joined the club, Mr. Peters. I don't think I've been recorded yet playing VR, but LJ, while we're starting to record this podcast, he's playing Pavlov. He bought it, and then now he's playing Demio. Just fucking rolling those dice without me. It's fine, LJ. I understand. We'll do the heavy lifting so you don't have to. We'll talk video games. But I hope you're enjoying them. Let's get to the new games, man. Shall we? Should we talk about new games for once? I think we should. I think we should talk about them.
Yeah, you can read these. I read everything else. Like literally, other than Lightfall, I care about nothing.
February 28th, so Destiny 2, Lightfall, Fernbus, Coach Simulator, Scars Above, Void TRL-M2, parentheses, semicolon.
I'm going to pause you for a second because I don't fucking understand what this is because the same thing is on the list for Friday.
Oh, it's probably some coding error. The game's called Terrarium 2.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We pulled this off a website.
But they both say PS4. Interesting.
That is weird.
One of them is probably PS5.
Yeah.
So
Terrarium 2.
I'm shaking my finger virtually at Push Square for
their game
being
list.
bad.
Yeah, get your coding in order. March 1st, Bendy and the Dark Revival, Brock the Investigator, Fight and Rage. Oh, man, I hope that's a beat 'em up, dude. And Leap. Fight and Rage is probably good. March 2nd, Arcade Archive Sky Kid DX, Mayhem in Single Valley, Pretty Girls Breakers Plus, Pyramid Raiders, Railway Islands, Strike Force 2 Terrorist Hunt. March 3rd, Blood Roots. That's a cool name. Gunman Tales, Insomnis Long Night, No Longer Home, The Smile Alchemist, and Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, which I think people are excited about. I will say, Jake, there's a game called Brock the Investigator. What do you call an alligator wearing a vest?
An investigator.
Investigator, dude. That's a good joke. All right, it's a dad joke. Yeah, none of these games really. I mean, I'm VRing it and I'm Mass Effect doing it. 3 it. Sorry, until I get through some shit. Wolong looks cool. Not up my alley though. And like you said, Destiny 2 looks really cool. And I bet you Fight and Rage is awesome. Anything that's the game that ends with Rage has got to be a knockoff of Streets of Rage. Fight and Rage. Yeah, dude. It's totally a beat 'em up. Fight and Rage is a beat 'em up for certain. It looks like, I don't know if I like the graphic style. They have like the CRT lines on it. The screen looks really, really busy. I don't know what it is, short of it being a beat 'em up game. And Jesus, the one graphic is a girl with a miniskirt on kicking right towards the angle of the camera so you can see straight up her skirt. And it's just like, I don't know, man.
Fight and Rage.
Fight and Rage. There you go. It doesn't look super good. If you're going to get a beat 'em up game, get Streets of Rage 4 or the TMNT games. It just got put out.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for the show. I don't have anything to say. This has been a 2-hour episode. We are giving you guys so much freaking content. It's ridiculous. The entire time, my pup Charlie's been sleeping over there on the couch, just snoozing, not losing. And that's all I have. I want you guys to have a great week. We're into March. Spring is around the corner. So, I don't know. Let me know who has VR2 rather. Let me know who has it. Put it in the comments. Write our show, psisawesome@gmail.com. This is episode 266. We got to do something special when we make it to 300. I was talking to Chelsea, and she goes, because I was watching the Digital Foundry guys at 100, and they all wore like I don't know, they had like blazers, and one guy had like a suit on. And she's like, why are they dressed like that? I was like, it's their 100th episode. She goes, you and Jake should do something when you hit episode 500. And I'm like, 500? I was like, Charles, there's 52 weeks in a year. It's going to take us many, many, many more years to get to 500. But 300 would be next year. So maybe we can do something for 300. I don't know what. Maybe I don't know, wear a Fred Flintstone shirt or something.
Maybe by the time we hit 500, we'll have like 15 patrons.
Yeah, dude, it's so slow. People do listen to the show, though. I mean, if I'm being honest, man, I'm not a patron of any podcast that I listen to. But the podcasts that I listen to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patrons. I think we have 6. So
I'm not complaining.
No, but I'm just
being self-deprecating.
Yeah, no, it's not a complaint. I'm just saying, if you are gonna throw a dollar somebody's way, and you like the quality of our show, and you like our personalities, and you like to tune in every week, again, we're not gonna be upset. We don't expect it at all, but it is appreciated, for sure. So, and again, we have these awesome stickers. Yeah, maybe by episode 500, we'll have gotten rid of all these stickers. I've got stickers here that I just want to mail you people. So if you want to be a patron for 1 month, get a sticker and then unpatronize us. Unpatronize us. It's a little hack I learned, a little cheat code to get a free sticker for $1. And we even pay for postage. So, all right, Jake, that's all I have. Do you have anything you want to say as we're winding down?
No, it's like fucking 20 to 10 at night, and I still haven't eaten dinner, so yeah. I'd like to eat something.
You better not eat anything now because you're going to wake up starving. Anytime I eat after like 8 o'clock in the mornings, my stomach's like eating itself. So, all right. Well, thanks, guys. That's it. 266 is over. We will see you at 267 next week. Like Tekken, Tetris Effect, and Tales from Space, Mutant Blobs Attack. P.S.
Yes.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.